Okay.
My name is David.
My name is Mariella.
My name is Liz.
My name is Sean.
My name is Tina.
We're all from Park Road Medicine.
Great. Here's your question. The very first amendment stated that laws shall not be passed that abridge freedom of speech. Why did the founders think freedom of speech is so important? Do you believe that there are times when freedom of expression should be limited? Explain your answer. Should a public speaker who calls for violent action be protected by the First Amendment, whereas an audience member who performs the action can be sent to prison? Why or why not? What current events involve freedom of expression? What quotes and court cases can you find that impact it?
And before you begin, I'm going to ask you again. Yes, wow, did you come? Okay.
Before we begin, we'd like to thank the judges for joining us this afternoon. The freedom of expression includes the right to speech, press, assembly, and petition. The right to speech means you can have the right to talk about your feelings, ideas, and political beliefs. An example is Martin Luther King, who spoke out against racism. Freedom of the press means you can read or write whatever you wish or want. An example is President Obama can have the FBI arrest a person who speaks against him. Freedom of assembly, the right to meet with others to discuss your beliefs, ideas, or feelings. Senator Chavez used this freedom when he gathered workers together to protest bad working conditions.
I think that freedom of expression has limits. Yes, we have the right to wear, say, protest, and do what we want. But we get that right taken away when we hurt somebody else's rights. That's how school versus Frazier. The court ruled against Frazier because he used inappropriate language in his speech, and that was a violation of school rules, even if he had freedom of speech. You have freedom of expression on whatever you want. You can express how much you love or hate something to the best of your ability, as long as you don't harm anybody else's rights. If you hate someone and express your hate by killing them, what would happen? If everyone was like that, and there was no limit to freedom of expression, everything would be in a state of nature, and that's why it's so important. As George Washington had once said, if freedom of speech is taken away, something better may be led, like sheep to slaughter. To me, this quote means that if we keep silent in what we believe in, we will have no power, and everything will be decided for us.
I think a public speaker who advocates rights should not be protected by the First Amendment because even if they have freedom of expression, they cover violent acts with harm people, and it puts them out of freedom. The person who performed the act should go to prison because even if they were told to do so, they did harm a person or kill a person. Peter Lucas New York in 1950 shows that in March 8, in 1949, Ivan Pena made a speech about disparaging of rights about politicians, organizations, and the president. The court found him guilty and 30 days in prison, which made him argue that it violated his freedom. It didn't because it was clear and legitimate. The KKK encouraged violence. They should be stopped. They peacefully assembled, but they went overboard by killing people and burning churches. By doing that, it goes against the health and safety of the people.
300 years ago, we did not have freedom of expression. Back then, if anyone spoke out against the king, we would be put to death. For example, in colonial America, Mary Dyer said that slavery, war, and death penalty were wrong. The Puritans did not like that, so they put her to death. Also, in 1682, John Buckner had his press print out the laws, and the governor did not give him permission to print out the laws, so he banned all print and press in the colony. As this shows, back then people did not have the right to speak what was on their mind. The framers thought that everyone should have the right to speak out.
George Washington once stated if freedom of speech is taken away, then the letter should just go. George Washington is saying if someone gives up their right to freedom of expression, then someone else is snatched away from them. Occupy Portland destroyed the freedom of expression when Occupy Portlanders started staying in local parks. After they started doing this to cause harm to other Portlanders, when they left all the trash behind. You might not think that this would be a problem when people have to walk through the park, but they end up having to walk a different route because the park is filled with trash. Think about that. Thank you for your attention. We'd like to open the floor to follow-up questions.
So, after the Holocaust, Germany made a law that basically banned denial of the Holocaust and the application of basically neo-Nazi opinion. Where in the United States we are allowed to advocate stuff like that. Which law do you think is better? Do you think there should be like a limitation to some extent with free speech?
I think that there should be a certain extent, but as long as you aren't harming anybody else's rights, like threatening to kill them or anything, then they should be able to express. I agree with what Selena says, because we all should have the right to say what's on our mind and to believe in what we believe in. But yet, some people take it overboard, which is like what Lynn said in her speech about the KKK. And those are some examples of where freedom of expression has to have limits.
So what are the appropriate limits? Just can you guys explain to me what your policy is on the appropriate limits to freedom of expression?
I think that freedom of expression, you can like express everything that you want to express, except for like harming another person or doing a dangerous thing.
I agree what Lynn just said. Like in school, you have the freedom of expression, but if it doesn't endanger anybody in the school, like you have freedom of speech, but some speech that you say is not allowed because it could be used to harm somebody emotionally.
Why is it that in our society we want people to be able to say ugly things? Why do we protect hateful speech and ugly speech?
Because like it's people's opinion, but like if they're like being like really like atrocious and stuff, then they have the right to say what they want to. And I guess some people find it comical. Because what Selena said, all of us have different opinions, and we should all have the privilege to have our opinions be heard, even if it's controversial, even if it goes against somebody else's opinion.
What are some political or social issues that you guys would feel confident speaking out about, that you feel strongly about?
Like about bullying, like it's not right. Like we have the right to say stop. And about, like the president, like people talking bad about the president, they can do that as long as they're not harming them, like sending against certain things.
What, you talked about the Occupy Portland movement, and I know Lena knows a lot about that. She studied that a lot last fall. It brings up an important issue for me, which is that the First Amendment protects not just our speech, not just the words we say or words that we write down, but it also protects other things. What else does it protect besides spoken or written words?
The right to petition, the right to assemble, like the right to petition, like to write and like agree with somebody else, and like the right to assemble to petition with peace.
Do you guys know any like examples of maybe historical movements that have used those rights to bring about change in our country?
Like what David said about Cesar Chavez, that he gathered a whole bunch of workers who did not agree with the working conditions that they were in. I think that would be one of them. And like Martin Luther King, who didn't agree with them treating the black people that way. And Rosa Parks, like with the bus boycott, how she like stopped, like she like changed history because she said that she was not going to put in the back of the bus, so a whole bunch of black people stopped riding the bus.
Go ahead.
So recently the government has been trying to regulate speech on the internet. Do you think that this is a good idea? Why do you do that?
I think it's a good idea because people can push it too far, and it can take emotional toll for people. Like in a whole bunch of colleges, they talk bad about people on the internet, but they can't say it to their face. I disagree, because I think that if we give someone else the right to freedom of expression, everybody should have it. You know, like you can't just say, oh yeah, you can protest, but you can't say this on the computer, because it's their speech and they can say what they want but yet they can go overboard and mess with other people's rights, and everybody has the right to safety and the right to feel safe and to be safe.
Do you think that there are we have a great amount of freedom of speech, more than any other people in the world? Our First Amendment is a stronger protection than any place else in the world. Do you think that that comes with any responsibilities? And what are those?
Like the responsibilities are to keep everybody safe. Like when you're in a group and people are showing their opinions, you do not have the right to like tell them that they're wrong. They should feel safe and their opinions should be heard without being judged.
I agree with what Selena says, that people should have the right to say what they want without having to worry about people that judge their opinions.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Anything to add to that?
I know you guys talked about maybe some limits that were put on speech in terms of actual spoken word, like you can't incite violence. What are some limits that the government has put on assembling or petitioning?
Like if you're destroying somebody else's property, or if you are harming somebody else's rights, like if you have a gun in your hand or something and you walk into a store and put it in you don't have the right to do that.
Well, literally, it's like disturbing the peace. You can't harm anybody else's rights, because how would you feel if someone harmed your rights? You wouldn't like it.
Do you think if you wanted to have a protest in downtown Portland, there are laws requiring you to get a permit before you have your assembly or your protest? Do you think that that's okay, laws that require you to get a permit to have your protest?
I don't think that.
I think that you shouldn't have to have a license to protest, because that's kind of affecting the right to freedom of speech as well, because to have a license, you're not allowed to speak out against something, which really could be bad.
And with that, I'm going to call time and open up